So many of you have heard me talk, and I had a lot of fun picking out dreams that I think no one's heard. I'm hoping no one's heard these dreams. And it was really fun. I had a stack of paper, and I was going through, oh my gosh, oh yeah, I remember that dream. So I picked out a few. Well, I was guided to pick out a few, so I'm hoping that I'm trusting that it all works for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you background, then I'm going to share the dream, and then I'm going to share a little bit of the interpretation of the message that I received, and then I'm going to lead you through some inquiries about how you can use the messages in your own life. And then if we want to discuss it or anybody has any questions, it's wonderful sometimes when people ask me questions about the dream, because then it really pulls things out. It helps me to talk about some things that maybe I wouldn't have talked about. Okay, so here's the background to this dream. So this dream happened probably 2-3 years ago, and maybe not that long. In this dream, I knew changes were happening in my life, like things were in the works, changes were going on, and I had a lot of challenges about, I wanted to experience harmony and ease in change. And what I was feeling was resistant and frustrated and not really understanding why, after all my work, that I wasn't experiencing some peace and harmony with this change. So I wrote in my journal, right before I had this dream, I seem to be unable to make a change at this time. I am frustrated. I am hopeless. I feel as if I cannot reap the benefits of all this internal work. What's the point of alchemy and transformation if there's no obvious positive change? I seem to never get to the goal. I seem to have stubborn energy. I seem to be keeping things as they are. Please help me. So that was what I said before I went to sleep. All right, so the dream begins in a hospital. And in this hospital, I am a very young intern, and it's my first year of residency, and I'm working with 2 other interns who are third-year residents. I probably watched a little bit too much of Grey's Anatomy, so I know what that means. I'm young, they know what they're doing. And there is a doctor who is in charge of us all. And we're standing outside of a room, and it's a patient's room, and we're about ready to go in. And we all know this is a very difficult case, and it's a very sensitive case. That word sensitive came. And I immediately step back, and I say, well, I'm a young intern. I have no business being in that room. And the other interns agree. You don't know what you're doing. You need to stay out here. We know what's going on. But the doctor in charge said, no, you need to go in. So I'm like, okay. So we enter the room, and it's not a hospital room. It's like a beautiful bedroom. It's all decorated nicely. It's very feminine. And we see a woman who's on the bed. And she is 30 weeks pregnant, but her baby has died. So I immediately feel that this case, I could feel the sensitivity of this case. And the other interns were saying, you need to go. You need to go. To me. And I realized that they didn't know that I had been through this. So I'm about ready to walk away, and the doctor again says, no, you need to stay. This is very important for your learning. So the doctor obviously is in charge. So I sit back in a chair, and I just observe what's going on. So as I'm sitting there, I'm pretty much in peace. I am not disturbed. I've been through this. I know what this woman is about to go through. I know that there's grieving ahead. I know that there's healing ahead. But everybody else is really upset, except for the doctor. So the doctor goes to the woman, and the doctor explains to her that she needs to deliver this baby, and that the way that was going to happen was he was going to inject her with something, and then it would start the process. And it had to be done because there was a high risk of her dying. So the woman, who is very distressed, is listening intently to this doctor, and this doctor is very compassionate but very firm. This is what needs to happen. We need to do this. And the woman reluctantly agrees. So everyone is a little bit relieved that she's going to at least follow the doctor because everyone is concerned about her dying. Suddenly, as the doctor goes up to give her the injection, the woman leaps out of bed and she says, "I'm not doing it, I'm going home." And everybody is startled with her decision. Now I'm sitting back observing, and I know exactly why she's doing what she's doing. So all the third-year interns rush to her, and they try to convince her to change her mind, and they say, "But I don't understand. You don't get it. You might die if you don't. You have to." They were very upset, trying to sway her. I didn't say anything because I could feel what was in this woman's heart, and I knew exactly why she was making this choice. And this a lot of times happens for me in a dream, and I telepathically know something. I just know what's going on. So what I knew was that she didn't think that she was strong enough to go through what came after having the baby. So she knew that what she had tried to create had no more life to it, that she knew that it was done, it was dead, and she needed to give birth. But what she was terrified of was the next step, the next part. She thought that would be the end of her. There was no way she could go through, once she let go of the old, that she could go through the new. She didn't think she was strong enough. She didn't think that she would ever be happy again. She didn't think she could flourish again. So what she decided to do was she decided to hold on to the old, even at the risk of her own life. I knew this in an instant. Everybody else, all the other interns, were scrambling. They just didn't understand. It wasn't logical. So as she was walking out the door, one of the interns turns to the doctor and says, "We aren't really in charge, are we?" And the doctor replied, "No, she is the one that has to make the decision." So the intern, who initially thought that I shouldn't be there, turned to me and said, with a lot of respect in her voice, "You really handled that well." And then I woke up. So go back to what I wrote in my journal before I had this dream. I was very, very hard on myself. I just didn't understand why I could not move forward in my life. And when I started to contemplate the dream, and there were so many beautiful parts to it, so many helpful parts to me, the first thing that I looked up, which I generally do, is I always look up numbers first. If a number appears in my dream, I look it up. So the number 30, because she was 30 weeks, appeared in my dream, so I looked up 30. And 3 stands for self-expression, creativity, and the presence of ascended masters and angels. And 0 stands for wholeness, cycles, and flow. So as I'm taking a step in my spiritual journey, and as I'm going toward my growth and involved change in my life, there was a stunting almost of that flow, of that cycle. I wasn't willing to complete the cycle. In a cycle, you're sort of in the middle, in the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I was at the, stuck right there. And what I loved, my first initial feeling after the dream was I felt like I was given an opportunity to see that I was reacting as if I was in the past, back when I didn't think that I could go through a change, back when I was afraid of the new, because that part of my life, I was suddenly in a new place. I was in the old, I'm having a baby, and then you're thrown into a brand new experience in your life. And what the dream was showing me, and the doctor was really the Holy Spirit, or the Spirit, or God, or guides, is in charge, saying, this is important for your learning. You have to first of all have compassion for yourself and understand why you would, at the risk, like that's the risk of your own life, you would stand up and say, nope, not doing it. I am not going. And I was given the clarity of, this is why we have such a hard time, even when we're suffering and when we're holding on to the old. We know it's gone. We know there's no life to it, but we hold on. And it's not so much that we cherish the old, it's because we're afraid of what comes next. And what we're really afraid of is we're afraid we don't have the strength, we don't have the understanding, we don't have the courage, we don't have the know-how to really go through in a new world. And what I also knew very clearly in that dream was, she doesn't think she has the strength, but I was on the other end of it, right? So I'm through the whole thing. I know there's healing. I know there's peace. I know she's going to be happy again. I know what's ahead for her because I've gone through it. So I know that none of what she thinks is true. I know that the new life that she's about ready to go into is going to be fine. Everything's going to be good. But when you don't know it, you hold on. So what an interesting and unique way for the Spirit to answer me and say, everything is going to be okay. You're just slipping back and thinking you're in the past and you're this woman and you're not that woman. So it gave me all this strength and all this understanding. Everything's going to be great. Now, the one thing that I loved was that very clear line where the interns and the doctors are talking to each other, and the interns are saying, we're not really in charge, are we? So the doctor, which you could say is your guide or your angel or your spirit, says, no, we're not. She has to make the decision. We can only guide her. We can only advise her. We can help her to understand the risks and the pluses, but in the end, we can't make her. She has to decide for herself. And I loved that part of that, because that was a total correction for me, because I was so distraught and feeling like I couldn't make a decision. And that dream was like, I can tell you what, I can advise you, and I can say, go here and do that, let go of that, embrace that. But if you don't think that you can go into the new, it's your decision. Our guides and our God and our Spirit does not make the decision for us. It advises us, it guides us, and it convinces us, or tries to convince us, that it's good, like what the advice is, and that we should follow it. But in the end, we're the one that has to make the choice. So when I contemplated all of that, I recognized that I could make that choice if I continue to listen to my guidance, if I continue to listen to the doctor in my dream who's advising me, you need to go through this, and you need to change, and you need to transition, and it's for your best interest. And I trust in myself. I trust that I have the strength and the wisdom to go through the change, that I can make that change. But it also had a lot of compassion, where I understood our stuckness and why we hold on to those things that no longer serve us. We know it no longer serves us, but we still hold on, and it's usually a dream of something, a wish for something. If you think about a birth of a baby, you're creating this life, and you have a whole future planned out already. so we put a lot of investment into our dreams, our hopes and dreams, and then it's like that has no life anymore. It doesn't serve you anymore. Okay, move over here. Oh, no. I'm holding on to this because I put a lot of effort into this and I want this to happen. So that moment when we know there's no more life, we know it, we need to step through, we need to go through that transition because you have to go through the letting go. You have to go, she had to go through the birth. She had to let go of the old in order to step into the new. And that could be a minute, an hour, a day, it could be months, a couple months, but that transition is necessary where you're sort of not in the old and you're not in the new. You're in this place of transition, and to know that you're strong enough to do that. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just lead you through, just have you close your eyes, and I'm going to just ask you a couple questions. And, all right, so just, with questioning and inquiry, you don't want to really search for the answer. You just want to let it come to you. So the first question is, what is in your life that has no life anymore? What is in your life that has no life anymore and is no longer serving you? Or you could say, what have you given time and attention to creating but needs to be let go for the next new stage of your life? Now, do you believe you are too spiritually ill-equipped to be in this place to handle whatever comes next? And I would like to invite you to just consider for a moment that your spirit guides have placed you here. That it is important to your learning that you go through this transition into something new. And that you have the wisdom and understanding to know that all will be well. That you are strong and capable of going through the letting go and the welcoming in of the new. So just consider that for a moment. See how it makes you feel. There's a lot of resting and relaxing in that awareness. And then I'd like you to consider, are you not being compassionate to yourself during this time? And if you're not, can you give yourself more love, more understanding as to why you would say, I'm not doing it, I'm not leaving, or I'm leaving, I'm not letting it go? Can you just love yourself in that moment and give yourselves a break? Just notice how hard it can be sometimes to let go and to go into something that is new territory. And then lastly, consider the message that the spirit guides are not really in charge, that you are the one that is in charge, but you are being guided every step of the way. So can you accept that you now understand this, and that when you are ready, you will make that choice, and that you will have guides, doctors, and interns to help you with that transition when you're ready. And then just consider, what baby steps can you take toward change? toward letting go of the old and welcoming in the new. Just a little baby step, a little gentle approach. What can you do to help yourself make that choice?